Hey, Slater Crusaders. So when Biden issued his vaccine mandates the other day, I knew there's one state that's going to lead the charge in fighting back and pushing against this. I'm so grateful for them. Of course, it's the state of Florida. I mean, Biden calls them out every chance he gets. I want to go to one of their state representatives. He's the representative just outside Florida, or excuse me, outside Orlando, Representative Anthony Sabatini, running for U.S. Congress as well. Mr. Sabatini, how are you, sir?
Great, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
Big picture, why have you guys decided to be by far the state that is the opposite of what Biden's doing and everything?
Well, a lot of it just has to do with the spirit of Republican freedom, just the ideals that the legislature have had for a long time. But more importantly, now we have the best governor in the country. You know, since DeSantis took over 2 years ago, he's really led the legislature to be even more bold than it was for the last 20 years. You know, the Republicans have run Florida for 20 years, but I think we're finally coming to our own stride. So, you know, his leadership is pushing us forward.
I don't want to get off topic here, but sorry, I'm in California, so I'm just coming off of this recall disaster. And we're headed in one direction. Give me some hope about the future of Florida politics. Then we'll get back to the mandates.
Sure, sounds good. I mean, Florida is actually getting more Republican every single day. A lot of folks down here thought because of COVID, you're going to get a lot of liberals leaving, almost like locusts leaving these blue, horrible states and coming down to the free red states where they can still, do what they want to do. Well, the truth is we've actually attracted more Republicans than anything. We've closed the gap by another 50,000 in Florida in terms of Republicans versus Democrats. So we're getting more conservative. And our politicians are getting more bold, and we have a great governor who's leading us in a good direction.
Oh, that's right. The bold is the key because we need that. We haven't had that for a long time. All right, let's go back to the mandate. So DeSantis said the other day that something about a $5,000 fine. Give us the details on what that's about.
Sure. Our governor did a very good thing. He issued a new executive order, or he's about to, that will assess a $5,000 fine on public sector employees being required to provide vaccination status and to being required to get a vaccine, for their employment, firefighters, police officers, city and county workers, state employees, that sort of thing. What I'm pushing for now in the legislature, and I believe the governor agrees, but we got to make sure it gets through the legislature, is shutting down all these woke corporate vaccine mandates too. I don't believe any entity should be able to take over the public health decision-making of any individual person. It should remain an individual free decision for them to make. And so that's the sort of the next step that Florida has. But right now, what we're doing is great. We have a couple bills being drafted. I have one that's being drafted that would declare the OSHA rule that Biden's about to announce as just null and void and make it that we don't recognize the federal government's authority to issue fines or close businesses, businesses that have more than 100 employees that aren't following the Biden vaccine mandate. So there's a couple different things going on in response to it right now.
All right, Rep, I'm totally with you, of course. I love it. I love how you guys are churning out these bills. It's fantastic. But let me play some devil's advocate here. So what do you say to the argument that you guys in Florida, you're infringing on the rights of businesses by banning them from doing what they want to do? So you're not the party of freedom because you're banning people from doing something. What do you say to that?
So this is really the big conundrum, the big issue in the Republican Party now, where I don't think voters are divided, but elected officials are certainly divided. And it's what should we do to regulate private actors? So in my opinion, big woke companies, which are stepping on the rights of citizens, do need to be dealt with by force, whether it's big tech censorship or in this case, tens or hundreds of thousands of working class Floridians telling their employers that they don't want to be vaccinated and therefore they're going to be fired or treated worse work conditions for not being vaccinated. The Republican Party needs to take a bold stand on that. And, the question you should be asking is whose rights matter more? The woke corporate board that wants to, play nice with the Biden administration, or the tens of or hundreds of thousands of working Floridians that actually vote for us, that actually believe in freedom, that just simply want to be able to be in control of them and their own family's healthcare decision-making. So I call it crossing the Rubicon, and a lot of Republicans are elected officials are following me and getting to the position where they think the government does have a proper role to play in that regard.
Yeah, that's such an interesting political question, right? Like I could see how a libertarian, more minded person would say, no, all hands off, I guess in this case, that would result in the feds just doing whatever they want, forcing businesses with their mandates, or this more little activism Republican concept, which in this case, and I think these days we need to, I certainly am more inclined to follow. Let me ask you just technically on the ground with businesses you've talked to, what are they to do, right? Let's say you guys pass this bill that says businesses can't mandate it. Who do they follow? You got the feds saying you have to, otherwise we're going to fine you $13,500, and you got the state saying you can't mandate it, or else we're going to fine you $5,000. What's a business to do? How do they make sense of it?
So we have an overwhelming amount of businesses who simply don't want the mandate. Why? Because they don't want any mandate. They don't want any government telling them what they have to do. The only companies that are really enthusiastic about it are the really big woke companies, which are like quasi-state actors. They're basically like little governments. Walt Disney, the airlines, these giant companies, some that are stationed here in the state of Florida. So, I'm on the side of small business, and they want to be left alone, and that's what it's all about. But what do they really want in this exact situation in terms of like action step? They want the government to lead. So if the state of Florida steps up and says, no, we're going to protect you, you don't have to comply with the OSHA mandate, whether that means willingness to fight the federal government court or pay the fines or just do what they need to do to nullify this law through legal means. I think that's really the step that Florida, that small businesses want to take, because they don't want to be just left out to dry before the federal government. They want the state to sort of protect them. So I think we need to make sure that we're letting states know that they need to be following our lead, not the federal government. So we need to be more assertive than the federal government.
Yeah, let's own a hardware store, right? OSHA comes down and says, we're going to fine you, Slater, $50,000 because you're not following our rule. And I say, oh, but Rep. Sabatini says I don't have to. What does that look like for my fine that the feds just gave me?
So this is where I fit into the sort of the harder right of the party at this point. I do believe in actual legal nullification. Like the Democrat states nullified marijuana laws in their states. They did it by sort of ignoring all the federal laws, cutting off any sort of support, indirect support for the federal government on that issue. I think we need to do the same thing from the right. So what I would actually pass is a nullification law that says the OSHA rule that's about to be issued is null and void, and any federal agent that seeks to enforce it, it won't be recognized in the state of Florida, and that person would be actually seen as a trespasser on land. So if they came in to check the eye wash station or whatever, that's totally fine. But if they try to shut down or assess a fine based on the vaccine mandate, I believe that we should be directing state law enforcement or county sheriffs to actually arrest that federal employee. Now, some could say that's an extreme idea, but I really do believe that that's at the point we're at now. The other day I heard Tucker Carlson say, if they can, mandate a vaccine, what can't they do? I do believe that a line needs to be drawn on the sand. If we're allowing them to say whether you're allowed to work and own a business based on, us complying with their public health mandates, I just think we have almost no freedom left, and we really need to step up and fight.
Man, I stinking love that. And I love that. It's such a great, it's just states' rights. It's states' rights, state sovereignty to the max. And that's how it should be. And that's how our founders wanted it. And man, I'm grateful for Florida. You guys are giving me hope for the country, especially for me here in California. Representative Anthony Sabatini in Florida, what's your website if people want to send you to Congress?
SabatiniForCongress.com. And of course, I'm on social media too. Anthony Sabatini on everything from Getter to Facebook.
Great. Good stuff, Rep. Appreciate you, man. Keep it up.
Thanks, Mike. Take care.
It's awesome. Love to see that. That is super encouraging. I don't live in Florida, so it's not all as encouraging as it could be. But at least someone's putting up the fight. Everyone's got to draw their line somewhere. You better figure out what that line is, because if you don't have one, this will just go on forever, and you'll be played a fool the whole time. True story. Mike Slater, spread the word.